Hello and welcome. This is the SitRep, where we offer insightful commentary on current affairs, or at least try to offer insightful commentary. I'm joined here today by Ali Halane, journalist and columnist. Can I also call you a political fixer at some point? Ali is a veteran journalist, former BBC Arabic correspondent in Somalia. I'm also joined by former bureau chief, bureau head Al Arabiya in Mogadishu, Mohamed Guure, who has also turned a politician. He served as the former public works and construction minister at Galmudug State, and later on become a local council member in his Swedish home district, Borlänge district. I think I got that right. Thank you, gentlemen. My name is Mohamed Hirmoge. And today we're discussing the request by the Somali government to terminate the mandate of the United Nations Assistance Mission in Somalia. Such a bold move, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely.
So let's get through the facts right here. This letter here is dated on 5th of May, 2025.
Yep.
2024, rather. It specifically requests for termination of UNSOM office. And the Somali government is saying will no longer request mandate renewal of Resolution 2705, which we have here. We'll come to Resolution 2705, which is the last resolution that gave the UNSOM office mandate in October of 2023. Now, this letter is from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, signed by the Minister, His Excellency Ahmed Maalim Fiqi. Looking at it, it doesn't come from the Office of the Prime Minister. Therefore, it wasn't a cabinet decision. Also, sources close to Parliament have confirmed that Parliament was also not consulted, not even the Foreign Relations Committee of Parliament. That leaves us only one place, that whoever directed this letter must have been higher up. I mean the President must have specifically asked for this. Now, another letter came 4 days later, which we have here, which now the federal government of Somalia is explaining a little bit more, and they are also referencing a call between the President, Hassan Sheikh Mohamud, and United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres. And now they're saying that Somalia is requesting an initiation of a planning process to articulate a clear end state towards a transition from a specific political mission to a United Nations country team. Now that's the difference. The first letter called for the termination of UNSOM. This letter calls for transition. Is it not a little bit chaotic to say the least?
Hirmoge, the least that we can describe is political or diplomatic scandal. What happened? That's the least we can describe, because we have seen this letter.
Yeah.
It was circulated by the social media like one day, and even the state-owned media was written, and before it was removed.
So SONA actually published and then later removed.
Yeah, and there was no any action from the government. And then after four days, we have seen another letter, which is totally contradicting the first one. Because the first one demanding the closure of the office of the United States.
Correct.
And the Somali government says we are not here to renew the mandate.
At least they're not requesting
renewal. That's what the first letter is stating.
Yeah.
But the other is saying, let us talk. Let's negotiate. Let us build a team who can come up with the strategy of the transition strategy. So this is total chaos, which means who will be held accountable for this? Who will take the responsibility?
Yeah.
In this case, they say in diplomacy, the head of the state is the one who is representing every country. And
Who
is
leads the
one
foreign
who
policy.
leads and guides the foreign policy. So in this case, our president is the one. And some information also says, indicates that the president was informed, and maybe, I don't know, maybe he agreed or gave the green line.
No, but Guure, you see, when the president initiates such a bold move, at least he has a cabinet, he has a prime minister. It's the biggest or the strongest implementing body of the government. The head of the government is the prime minister. So this should have gone through the cabinet.
Absolutely, that was.
And there's no indication it went through the cabinet.
That was the way, but we are not talking about we are talking about Somalia. And I'm not disclosing a secret if I say our foreign policy is not only guided by, but also manipulated from the office of the president. So the president is the one who dictating what is going on, and our foreign ministry is attached with the presidency just now. And not only for this president, but also our previous government also was acting like this.
If I come to the decision-making process or how we manage the communication with the international bodies and international or regional bodies, always the Somali governments from last 2 decades, they have in orders with the international bodies, either UN or EU or any other regional or international bodies. When I come to these two
and also I have to remind you, the last administration had PNG'd SRSG, which was a big deal.
Yes, that's also a big deal. I would say there is miscalculation when it comes to dealing with international bodies, UN or EU or something like that, or misunderstanding with the consequences which can arise from any other decision is taken by very quick steps. So I see here in 5 May, we have this letter terminating the UN
office
in political of UN UNSOM
UN Assistance Mission
Somalia, and after 4 days after, we are we have some corrections maybe or something like that, or
at least the language is different.
Language different, but also maybe this is calculated in some way that, and I suppose if we go back to our communications with the UN, it's better to start with this, but we started with a letter that we could expect it to be the end. So that was the problem. So I think this.
So it's the case of putting the cart before the horse.
Yes. So this will have its consequences between the relations between the government and the UN bodies in later on.
And remember, Ali, we are talking about the UN, and for us, UN is very essential for us. This country.
Let's see this. So, I mean, there are 25 UN entities in Somalia, absolutely. And the most interesting thing, in this list there is IMF, there is IOM, and guess what? There's World Bank that is registered as a part of UN entity in Somalia. So did we consider that before we requested the closure of the UN political office for Somalia? And by the way, I think it's clear. Let's look at. I'm sorry, I'll just get back to you in a second. If we look at this UN mandate here, the mandate. I have a letter here that talks about the mandate of the United Nations Mission in Somalia. It says the Security Council decided that the mandate of UNSOM would include the provision of policy advice to the federal government and the African Union mission in Somalia. This is back in 2013. But then they're saying they will advise on peace building, state building in the areas of governance, security sector reform, and rule of law, constitutional review, democratization, including preparations for the 2016 political transition and coordination of international donor support. So we did not consider even the condition of donor support before we requested
And by this
the
definition,
termination.
and also by this definition,
Yeah.
UN is a de facto government in Somalia.
That's what
So-
I'm saying, Ali. Now, sometimes, yes, we Somalis, sometimes we think that we are sovereign government. Yes, we are, but our sovereignty is not full because of our situation. And that's our reality, whether we like or not. That's another case.
Yeah.
So here, see the area that UN is covering now, security. We are talking about logistics. We are talking about the peace building. We are talking about the institution buildings of this government.
We're talking about logistics, even when the president wants to move around
Absolutely.
locally.
So we are talking about everything that this office that we wanted to close is responsible for us. And, you know,
So this first letter
the
is chaotic, to say the least.
Yeah, Security Council,
Yeah.
when the members want this situation brief from Somalia,
Yeah.
they are listening to the special representatives of the Secretary General, not our representative in the UN.
In
Because
UN, yeah,
just
that's
maybe
right.
he can comment,
Yeah.
but they
But every time the UN Security Council wants updates from Somalia,
Yeah.
they will listen to the SRSG.
yeah.
Who briefs the Security Council? That's what you're saying. Not even our permanent representative in New York does that. Is that your point, Guure?
So regardless of the rhetoric of that Somali politicians or government repeats every day that we are sovereign, we are independent state, it's just only rhetoric, and it's not. It has nothing to do with the realities on the ground. That's UN is who runs this.
Yeah, and to
country.
make such an important decision, we should involve all relevant bodies in this government,
Including Parliament.
including Parliament,
Including the
the
public.
committee, the public. I mean the cabinet.
The states.
So here the question is, were all these bodies, or relevant bodies,
A more important question is, why would the president do that? To what end? Can the government at least defend this letter?
They try to defend it, to say that is our mandate, the Somali government mandate to run the elections, to prepare the country for the free and fair elections for the next term. So, but if even UN accepted this letter and say tomorrow bye-bye to Somalia, I think we will go back to another situation which is more dangerous than we are in now. We cannot manage all these things that UN manages here in Somalia.
Ali,
You have mentioned before.
Yeah, we have also the same situation. Just we have asked,
With AMISOM.
the ATMIS transition and to withdraw the African peacekeepers. So the question is the Somali government are prepared now or capable to take over the security issue from the African soldiers?
The answer is no, because now there's talk
because
already.
now
Yes.
our government is renegotiating with the African Union to get maybe
So they are talking about a special mission.
between 7 to 10,000 soldiers. That's what we are negotiating now. So what is the difference?
It's just a rehatting of the AMISOM or ATMIS troops.
I think, Ali,
So you're saying even if the UN accepted this
Yes.
and decides to work on this, we're saying a similar situation with AMISOM will unfold, where now we'll say, no, we didn't mean exactly that.
Yes.
What we need is a transition. We're not even ready
Right. We're not ready.
to deliver. And speaking about readiness, I have here the last UN Security Council resolution 2705, which renewed the mandate for the last time in October 31st, 2023. A mandate that is supposed to end this October 31st, in which this letter is saying, don't renew after. Here, UN Security Council is saying, decides to extend until 31st October 2024 UNSOM's mandate, and tasks in Somalia are set out in Resolution 2158, that is in 2014, and Resolution 2592 in 2021. Now, among the things which is indicated here is that conduct of free and fair elections through inclusive, transparent processes at the national, local level on agreed timelines. It's another topic that's it's already making a lot of heat here in Somalia.
Yes. Yeah. You see, this last resolution 2705 implies that UNSOM mandate is beyond the 31st of 2024. So I think, and I believe that this letter,
because if it indicates the conduction of free and fair elections at national level, it means the Security Council is also considering the elections of 2026.
Right. The last resolution, it was not expecting that Somalia will terminate or Somalia will produce like this communication to them. So I think this struck them, and now the president and the government, both of them are repairing the mistakes that they did in the last
Ali, not only the UN and the international, but also the Somalis, because now it's not coincidence that now we are talking about the direct election, and just we terminate this office who has the mandate to monitor and to also facilitate and also to support the conduction of these direct elections, because this will create a fear and concern about the Somali stakeholders.
If the government says we will run the elections and we'll manage all of these things, that's not enough.
Is there something that the government wants to hide? So they wanted just to close this office, not to be present here.
And since Resolution 21002 of 3rd June 2013, the UN Security Council has renewed the mandate 15 times.
Yes.
So 15 times, just as you're saying, I want to imagine the Security Council thought it's business as usual.
Yeah.
So they'll wait until October 31st and then sit and then take stock of what happened the last 1 year and the direction where Somalia is going. And this time even there was debt relief, there was the arms embargo that was lifted, there were a few progress that was made in governance and the structures in financial management. And so I think if talking to some experts, they were saying it's clear that the UN Security Council would not even have spent a lot of time this time in renewing a mandate for a further 1 year. But like you were saying, this now complicates everything, which leads me to ask, what next?
This is a big question. Yeah, to be asked to the Somali government or Somali president, or that those who issued these contradicting letters.
Yeah.
So because after 31st October, I think business will be as usual and nothing will be changed. So they will need just to reconsider what they discussed with the Security Council. I have read the last letter that there was an original contact or communication between Secretary General and Somali President. So to further explore what will be the next step after the terminating the UN, or maybe the changing some characteristics, changing some rules or something like that. But I think one day in October or November, Somalis or the Somali government will go back to reconsider the whole process itself and say, please, we want to be extended or something like that.
I think what the government has missed was to require to make a revision for the mandate of this office before they go to the termination. And I think the build-up of this office was 2013.
Yeah.
If we go back, and I think it has to be reviewed after 10 years.
True.
And we have passed that thing.
True.
So there was a way for the Somali government that they can do the revision of the mandate of this and to moderate.
Not to
this.
request termination.
Yeah.
That's a very
all.
important, by the way, point. I mean, were there other things the Somali government could request? Maybe review, maybe let's renew the terms. Maybe Somali government could articulate their priorities this time round and offer suggestions to the Security Council. And they're saying, even as you decide to renew the mandate, we have these priorities. Please also consider these priorities.
Which makes us to question who runs this country. How they are running.
The president runs this country. I'll answer that for you.
Yes, the president runs, but it is obvious from all these things that something wrong with the process or the decision-making process. There is no actual.
If the president runs the country, he makes the decisions.
Between the government, between the president.
It wasn't a process. This letter and the other one, there was no process involved. We're saying it's one man show. The president.
But this was embarrassment for the president. Because
Does he realize that?
No, this is contradiction.
Okay.
So when you sent this letter, requesting termination of his office, and after 4 days, you are contradicting yourself and
coming back to the terms.
So it reflects badly on the president.
And the president picks the phone and contacted with the general secretary, and this was
Total embarrassment, huh?
Absolutely. I can imagine how was the president at that time when sitting in his office and calling to the.
Now maybe he was just sipping coffee and he was okay. I mean, there's no indication that the president is embarrassed by this.
The other thing is now we are saying the tip of the ice only.
Yeah.
And we see some 2 or 3 communications between the UN and the Somali government. Can you imagine the other things which is going on
in the back channels?
In the back channels. So I think it is.
If there are back channels.
Yes. Always there is a back channels in Somali politics. In the world, but in Somali politics, back channels are always working on the ground.
Yeah. Ali, both you and me were active journalists here in 2012 and 2013. And I think both you and me had interviewed the UN Political Office for Somalia, the former SRSG, Ambassador Mahiga, the late Ambassador Mahiga, the Tanzanian minister and diplomat.
Yes.
And we know how involved UNPOS at the time, the predecessor of UNSOM, was in Somalia's elections.
Yes.
And state and peace building processes.
Yes.
So much so that Mahiga was so important.
Yes.
In the.
He's the one who delivered
the end of the transition. Actually.
Yes.
And so the TFG term lapsed with the election of President Hassan Sheikh in 2012.
Yes.
And that's when now UNPOS changed to UNSOM.
Yes.
And not a political office
that
for Somalia now.
In June 2013.
June 3rd of 2013. Now the office, it moved from a political office for Somalia to UN Assistance Mission in Somalia.
Yes.
And with it now came all the support system, ANSOS and UNSOA, and all the agencies that we've talked about, the 25 entities within the UN. So in requesting a termination of UNSOM, is the Somali government also requesting the termination of UNSOS as well? That provides, forget anything else, logistic support.
Yes.
If the Prime Minister needs to visit Adale, he will request a helicopter from UNSOS. And then UNSOS can't function without UNSOM because it provides, UNSOM offers the oversight and the accountability to UNSOM, to UNSOS rather. Yes. So the two offices, the two systems are joined at the hip.
Yes, they're intertwined.
You can't separate one from the other. So what are we looking at here when we request a closure of one and we want the support of the other to continue?
Really, it seems to be that those who took the decision of terminating the UN office in Somalia, as we see from this letter, that they are not aware of the interconnection between the UN
Bodies.
agencies in Somalia, because UNSOS is dependent with UNSOM and other bodies. If we see the numbers now, we see all these support comes from the UNSOS, and starting from the logistics, from the troop evacuations, from the health support, from the everything, you name it, it is very large support.
Even support to AMISOM, which is ATMIS now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even the UNSOS is the one who supports the AMISOM or ATMIS to deliver its mandate in Somalia. So those who took the decision, as I said before, they were not aware or fully aware the interconnection between these UN bodies. So to come to the calculation to request the termination of the office itself, it was a wrong decision in a wrong time.
Yeah, and what our politician is missing is that they forget that Somalia is still under the Chapter 7 of the UN Security Council Charter, which enable the Security Council to intervene the situation of Somalia. That's one thing. And the other thing is you cannot have UNSOS without UNSOM. Because, and I think the Somali government, they think that, okay, UNSOS is good because it has the logistics, the support and all this, but UNSOM, which is the political body of this, so we
because UNSOM will be interested in the elections.
We don't need this. And here is, if I give you something, I have to monitor it.
Yes.
So, and you want, I will give you something without any monitoring, and that is impossible. That's my...
A more important question is, why is Parliament, the institution that should provide oversight and checks and balances, is silent on this?
But the problem is we have institutions who are not practicing their real job.
Okay.
So they are there for formalities. Formalities are there, but they are not doing the actual job that we are expecting as a Somali.
But the other question, Ali, are they aware the magnitude of and the complication of this decision?
I don't think
the impact, that's one question. The other question, I have read that our parliament will have a resolution that they will terminate this office.
The UN.
Oh.
Yeah, because it is so easy to say in the Somali government.
Because they vote for security agreements that they're not even read.
To say we are sovereignty, we have a sovereign, and we are an state. So why this office is up in here? Why this office is not like the office of the United Nations in Kenya? So here what we are missing, like we are not like Kenya, we are not like any other countries.
That is also
we are
another...
in a special situation. So we are not controlling our...
Why do we always mention sovereignty? Has somebody told us you're not sovereign? Why is the Somali leader or the Somali politician or the Somali parliamentarian, every time they're vocal in saying we are a sovereign state? Of course you're a sovereign state. That's why you have a seat at the United Nations. But why do we use the ploy of sovereignty to mess around and justify saying we're a sovereign state?
Because they don't have another justification to mention when they want to request something or to take some decisions. Just they what I can say, they want to hide themselves
behind sovereignty.
Behind the sovereignty.
And they blame others.
Blame others.
Because we have to blame ourselves, because we have to control our territory. We are the one who was supposed to do all these assignments.
Yes.
So at that time we will be a full sovereign government. So we have to make, but our politicians, they are cowards. So they cannot face the reality. That's what I...
Guure, I need to mention, you have a master's in diplomacy. How should this have been handled?
You know, I have started, this was a scandal. That is the least we can describe in this situation. And I don't know what has been going exactly. But in diplomacy they say,
Yeah.
if a diplomat says yes, means maybe, and if a diplomat says maybe, means
No.
no. And diplomat will never say no. So you need.
What happens when the highest
need-
diplomat, the president, is saying terminate? What does that say of our diplomacy?
If you don't need to use that terms, we should use another terms. We should do another more diplomat language. I don't know.
So do you think that will have another implications over the next president or maybe next government, that UN will see us as an unexpected country or unexpected leadership? Unpredictable.
Actually, a similar thing happened
when we used the PNG
on Haysom.
Yeah. That
Nicholas Haysom.
Yeah, that implicated the whole situation of Somalia, because the other world was expecting that how are you going to use the power? So this is it is misusing of the power.
So yesterday it was PNG, today it's terminate.
Yes.
What do you expect tomorrow?
This is also another big question. The unexpected will happen also. Again.
Because
And that's why we need this country.
yes.
Not only the current president.
Yeah.
We need to have a written foreign policy.
True.
That is what we're missing, because we cannot drive our foreign policy
Based
based on one person,
One man's
two
wishes.
persons. That
This
will
is
never
also
happen.
has to do with.
So we need to know
Yeah.
where are we going. We need to who is our friends,
Yes.
who is our enemies.
Yeah.
How are we going to categorize the enmity and the friendship? So this is very complex.
And this was the problem of the Somali politics and Somali diplomacy from the 60s up to now.
Yeah.
Still, nowadays, after 64 years of independence, we don't have strategic relationship with any other entity in the world, either UN or the unilateral or bilateral. We don't have strategic friends. We don't have allies. We don't have all our politics ruled by the transactional decisions or transactional policies.
And one man show.
Yes, and one man show. That's a problem.
No, but the current foreign affairs minister was a diplomat. He was a former ambassador, right?
Mhm.
So he should know better, one. Two, the president is a second-term president.
Mhm.
He should know better as well. So what's missing? Are they not seeking the proper advice, or they don't want advice?
Maybe it is lack of coordination,
Okay.
lack of discussion, lack of properly calculate the consequences of your decisions, either politics or security or any other
And
things.
lack of the institutions, because what we are talking about now, individuals. So whatever you are,
Yeah.
if you are an individual,
Yes.
you cannot feel full in this job. So you need to have an institution that who has the capacity
Yes.
that can be only deliver what we want and how we want it.
The other thing also I could mention is the overconfidence,
Yeah.
and that is a Somali character. If it is,
Is it
if you are a
overconfidence or
politician,
arrogant?
say what you like,
is it
but it is
The
overconfidence.
Geljira syndrome.
Okay.
That is gene syndrome. Yeah? It is overconfidence. If you are a minister, you are confident that you are taking the right decision in right time. If you are president, like that. If you are parliament, like that. So the overconfidence, negativity is haunting Somali politicians and Somali
And decision-making process also.
Mm.
Which kind of process we have now? Because in other countries we have other institutions who can do the process, who can prepare, feed the politicians and prepare everything. So the president and the foreign, they have to be actors,
And
We
now,
need behind the scenes some people who are behind it.
finally, in the light of all this, what is the role of the cabinet and office of the prime minister in all this? Do they even know they have a role in this? Do they know that the public is waiting for more explanation, better explanation? If you do remember, after these first two letters,
Yeah.
the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ahmed Maalim Fiqi, went to the state TV to sort of explain the decision
Good.
and explain he did not do. What he mentioned was he would want the UN to stay in Somalia similar to how they stay in Kenya or Uganda or any other country. The truth is, Somalia is not Kenya or Uganda. It's not. There's a reason why there is an assistance mission in Somalia. There's a reason why the Security Council, the 15 members, sits every year to renew the mandate. And now, in the second letter, there is talk of UN country team. Did they even explain that outfit, what the UN country team would be like? Does the office of the prime minister, the cabinet, do we owe them explanation and way forward? That's my question. Do they know we owe them that?
I think the speech by our foreign minister, Ahmed Fiqi, was just trying to absorb the heat, the political heat that rising from these letters or something like that. So he wants just to absorb that thing. And he said, we are like Somalia, like Kenya, we wanted this and we wanted this. It's just a rhetoric, but he was absorbing the heat. He demanded what he called the country team. But the country team itself, I think, regardless of the definition, it is somewhat like the same entity of UNSOM. So it will be a name change, but the same mandate or similar mandate with similar job and with similar timeline of delivery. And I think it doesn't have anything with the sovereignty and with the things they talk about in the government. And according to what you have the question you raised, that is the cabinet ministers aware of these things or have they discussed very well? I think we know all how the Council of Ministers formed originally, and we know how they function. And if we calculate this, that means we don't have actual functioning Council of Ministers in our government. Maybe.
That's disastrous.
That's disastrous because even how the agenda is prepared and how the debate is discussed, all of these things, and we are all journalists and we know what is happening in the office of the Prime Minister and the hall of the meeting hall of the Prime Minister. Many things are in odd with the situation. So I think there is no coherent and fully packed decisions and awareness and strategic thinking in the Council of Ministers. Just there is a quick decisions. Even if you look how length of meeting in the weekly meeting of the Council of Ministers, it's just a few minutes. Reading the minutes and something like that and raising hands, and we decided this and this and this, and that's all. Thank you.
Guure, last thoughts?
No, one word. I doubt that the Prime Minister was aware what happened. That I doubt.
There we have it.
You can correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, I think that's a good way to stop. to finish this session. And I think the Prime Minister could...
But that was not diplomatic.
He's not a diplomat. He's a journalist and a politician.
Now you are a journalist.
It appears for me that our diplomacy based on our Somali traditional say, which says, nimaan warankaagu gelin warkaagu ma galo, which if I try to translate in English roughly, it could be, first I will punch you, and then we will talk to de-escalate the situation. That is the base of really what's going on. Because the first letter was a punch, and the other was just let us talk.
Anyway, thank you so much, gentlemen. That does it for our session today. See you next week. Goodbye.